Hey, this is Kingfish, and welcome to the devlog for The Waking of Haven. I'm a solo dev building an ambitious action roguelite RTS where you command a hero and a squad of troops as you explore an enchanted forest filled with monsters and loot, all with the goal of bringing it back to a central monolith called Haven, where you and your ragtag band of allies can rebuild civilization. Since my last video, I've started to change gears. I've put on the finishing touches to what I consider the core gameplay loop, and I'm now moving into the polishing phase. Let me tell you what I think that means. You can play as multiple characters, each with different sets of abilities. At the start of each day, you talk with a quirky old man named Pan, the steward of Haven. He sends you off with some starting supplies. You can travel between different clearings where you will need to defeat an enemy before proceeding, and each clearing has an assortment of resources for you to pick up and bring back to base. You can spend those resources on upgrades, and those upgrades are helpful for defending Haven during a weekly raid from the peoples of the forest. Finally, collecting special rare resources allows you to meet the priests and priestesses of very different factions who also find themselves as refugees in Haven. This is the main way of unlocking new characters, factions, and long-term upgrades that let you alter your playstyle. And finally, I've got a tutorial that introduces players to the core gameplay mechanics and kind of acts as a microcosm of what the rest of the game has to offer. So, what now? Well, I've been playtesting a lot, and I've done some over-the-shoulder demos with friends to see what they liked, didn't like, and most importantly, what they thought was confusing. This led to a ton of small tweaks and polish, but also a few structural alterations that make the game feel a little different and more balanced. For example, previously there was a resource called Capacity, which, as you might imagine, determines how many troops you can field at once. However, it turns out that my reward types are definitely not equal, and having more bodies on the field by having capacity, and however powerful they are, was almost always a better choice than, say, a magical item or a training upgrade for your troops. As a result, there wasn't much player choice if there's always a right option, and the reward for strategizing just wasn't too much fun. So now I've implemented capacity points, which is kind of like population cap from other RTSs. Each unit now has a capacity cost, and you can only summon units onto the field if you're under your capacity cost. This isn't immediately intuitive, however, so I added a whole scene to my tutorial to communicate the idea. So far, I like it, and I hope it sticks. So where does that leave me now? I've got a ton of ideas for new features and mechanics, but at this point, I'm long overdue for some additional playtesting and building a small community to get a fresh perspective. And that brings me to the topic of a demo. So actually today is kind of a big day for me. In a previous video, I mentioned that I set for myself the goal of having a demo available for the next Steam Next Fest, which lights up today. And I missed it because of a fundamental bug with one of my assets in Unity, which cost me at least 1 to 2 months of development, and that's even before factoring in all the burnout. But with that said, I have successfully created a playtest in Unity, and I currently have the ability to share Steam keys with playtesters to get started. This is actually kind of a big moment for me. Don't get me wrong, I missed out on the application for NextFest in a big way, and I won't be participating, but I still kind of met my soft goal of being demoable to an audience of strangers by today. So I'll take that win. And this leads to a call to action. I need some help. If you're interested in playing The Waking of Haven and contributing some early feedback, I'm going to be hosting a closed beta through Steam, initially launching on what I'm targeting for November 1st. This will give you access to the game, the tutorial, and unlimited access to the core game in its current state. There's only one limitation that I'm implementing so far. You can't spend sober resources for long-term upgrades. You can still recruit and speak with the priests and priestesses of various factions, but you'll be limited to just the 2 starting characters for right now and what they have to offer. So, to participate, please join my Discord server. Links are in the description, and all the details will be supplied there on how to get a Steam key. Between now and then, I want to pump out as much content as possible, possibly dipping into the lore and backstory of the characters, factions, locations, and the lesser gods who occupy Haven. Once we're in closed beta, I'll do my best to put together monthly updates as I respond to feedback. And one last thing. I would like to quit my day job to work on this game and bring it across the finish line, but I can't do that with just 17 subscribers. If you saw this and you like what you see, please consider dropping a like and a comment and maybe subscribing. I really do appreciate it, and it really would help me out. Thank you so much, and have an excellent day.